Hello, and welcome to Ghost Spill the Tea with myself, Paranormal Mitch.
And Paranormal Tej.
Today's episode is about bonding with your spirits, which is something that I know we, especially you, get a lot of questions about.
Yes. And it is very, very important because if you're going to welcome a spirit into your home and you want to get into this hobby, it is so important that you know who you're living with and that you guys are comfortable with each other. And the deeper the bond you're able to build, the better experience that you'll have on both ends for both you and the spirit. So,
Yeah, because you might as well, if you're going to have a roommate, have it be a good roommate.
right.
Yeah,
You don't want a
exactly.
stranger living in your house.
Yeah.
And they don't want to live with you either if you're a
Heck no.
stranger. That's weird.
So we have a couple of major topics as well as some questions from viewers, which is really great. So we'll go over a couple of those things. So first thing we wanted to talk about is intent over curiosity. Yes.
A big one.
It's a big one.
We're starting heavy.
Yes.
We're going right in.
And intent is really something that, gosh, I feel like we say every single time, every single podcast. It's really, when I think of intent, I think of the goal behind what I'm trying to achieve. And a lot of times, I know if people are new into the hobby or they are not aware of kind of what's going on, curiosity can very quickly kind of overtake a lot of things.
Yeah. And it's normal to be really, really excited to have a haunted doll or to encounter a spirit at a location if that's what you're doing. It can be very exciting and it can be very tempting to ask them anything and everything about themselves right away, no matter how personal. And to fuel our own curiosity and our need for a response or an answer or a story, sometimes we veer on the side of putting ourselves first instead of putting the spirits first.
Yes. Which, I mean, I would think if, I met someone new at, with some friends or something like that, if they came up to me and they were like, hey, can you tell me about your life story, like in the first 5 minutes of me meeting you?
It's weird.
I'm like, that's a little weird.
It's a red flag.
And it's important to really, just like any other friendship that you're building, it's important to have patience, and it's important to try and understand what that spirit is sort of going through. They're in a new place. They don't know what's going on. They're in a new home. It's pretty frightening for them, especially with kids.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that you really have to be aware of. I know for us, a lot of times when we get new spirits, we really try and give them a lot of time to sort of acclimate. And we've had spirits that have taken months for us to talk
and
to.
We've increased that time too. A lot of people have asked us like, hey, you've been doing this for a long time, so has the warm-up period decreased? I'm like, actually, the longer we do it, the more we increase our warm-up period because we see and we've experienced spirits who take 6 months before they want to talk to us. And that's okay. We just want on their time, whenever they feel comfortable. And that putting intent over curiosity piece, what that means is, you can show your intent to build a bond with them in other ways besides I'm going to interrogate you in communication sessions. You can show, you have a good intent for that spirit by greeting them every morning when you wake up. Very simple things.
Yeah.
When you get home for the day saying, hey, this is how my day went. I hope you had a great day too. You can do that through giving offerings, showing like, hey, I care. I'm giving this to you because I care about you, not because I expect anything in return. That can be, hey, you may not be ready to communicate with me yet, but let's watch a movie together. Or, hey, I am really interested in your culture and where you come from. So I'm going to, let's say you're from Greece. I'm going to read a book about Greece. And those things show that spirit that you care and that your intent in working with them is good. You want to know about your spirit, obviously, but it's really important to remember. Sometimes people think like communication is the most important thing, and it's extremely important. But at the same time, that communication comes from a place of trust, and you're not going to get that communication unless you have a foundation of trust and mutual respect built first. And the more, of a positive intention you put into the experience, the better it will be on both sides. And so, showing your intent is extremely valuable, and relationship building with spirits, bonding with your spirit does not have to be active all the time. It doesn't have to always be gear oriented, spirit box oriented, communication oriented. It can be as simple as, hey, I hope you had a really good day. I care.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you summed it up well. Next topic we're going to go over is consent. And that goes both ways, folks. Don't forget that.
Yes.
So, Taylor, do you want to talk us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, in terms of consent, this means like a spirit giving consent to communicate with you and to work with you. They may not want to right away. They may not be ready to right away. So asking, and when you're in those communication sessions, like let's say, they kind of let's say they bring up a part of their backstory and you're kind of in this like point where it's like, is the nice thing to do to ask follow-up questions or is it to back off and let them share only what they want? Ask them. Hey, is it okay if I ask you more about, your life? Hey, is it okay if I ask you a little bit more about that experience you're telling me about? Hey, is it okay if we talk about this? You don't need to do that for like little silly things, like you're talking about the TV show you watch together. But, when communication gets to a point where it's like you're getting more information, hey, is it okay if I ask you about that? Hey, is it okay if I take a video of you? Or are you okay with that right now? Just asking, not because, sometimes people get consent confused with fear. And I think it's important to distinguish the two. You're not asking because you're scared if you don't ask, something is going to happen. You're asking because you care about them. Like, I'm not going to, take Mitchell's stuff off of his desk without asking him, right? It's his stuff. I'm not going to move their stuff on the shelf without asking them because it's their stuff. It's not my stuff. So like the same way that like you would ask somebody else before just like messing in their business and their stuff, you do that for spirits as well.
I think it's also very important to know that if you ask them, like, let's say, oh, do you want to talk about this? And they say no, and they shut it down and they set a boundary. It's important to not get frustrated at them for that or to try and get upset about that. And I can totally see where people are coming from, where they're like, I've tried with this spirit over and over, but they're not communicating with me. They're just not doing these things. I'm trying to do all these things and it's frustrating. Sometimes you just have to keep doing what you're doing and give it time. It's not going to happen right away. Now, that isn't to say you have some spirits that are going to walk in day one and they're going to be like, I'm going to tell you everything about myself, right? I think it's a great example of Tiger Ray. Tiger Ray. We got Tiger Ray
live.
On a live. Literally, I think it was like 2 days after we got him. And he just told us everything. He's chatting with us. He's making jokes. He's doing all these things.
This is how I died.
This is how I died.
We're like, wow.
Now, this is very much his personality, right? He's very outgoing. He's very...
He's like that guy that would make friends with anybody at the bar.
Yes. And that's a lovely spirit to have. And we adore him. But his way of communication and how we introduce ourselves to him and how he introduces himself to us is very different than, let's say, like Demir, who is one of our little guys who's from Istanbul. And his past is a little tough. So we kind of have been slowly working with him to try and do that, but that's at his pace. Mm-hmm. And you need to understand that, yes, they set those things, but it's also an option for you. If, let's say, you're uncomfortable or they're having a hard time communicating with you, maybe you talk a little bit to them. Maybe you can say, hey, this is a little bit about what happened to me. This is a little bit about my background. Or let me show you a movie that really represents how I feel about, the world. Or this is a type of movie I really like. That can be something that can really be bonding for them too, because you're sharing details about yourself. And that can be a really powerful thing to do as well.
I think Demir is a really good example of like what that asking consent can do for a relationship, because we were asking Demir like, hey, are you okay with yourself being here? Are you okay with this? Are you okay with that? Especially in regards to like his religious practices, because that's very important to him. And because we did that, he like it showed him that we care about that, and then he started initiating more with you in particular about what he did want. So like one night randomly, he pops in on Mitchell and he's like, hey, I think I want to go in the room for the live tonight. I don't want to be on the camera yet, but I think I want to go sit in the room and watch and see what it's like. And we didn't ask him, but he was so used to us asking him permission and, hey, are you okay with going in there? Are you okay with doing this? Are you comfortable with this? Because we did that, it showed him that we are safe people to go to if he needs or wants anything. And I think that that's very, very powerful.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Awesome. Next topic we are going over is time, familiarity, and trust building. So these are all things we've kind of touched on a little bit, but let's go and do a little bit more of a deep dive. Time, I think, is the big one. Time and familiarity are huge. It takes time, even just being in the same space as a new spirit. I know for us, a lot of times when we get a new spirit in the house, we may isolate them a little bit. They may want their own space. If it's a kid, they may be like, hey, let's throw them right into the kid room. Or, we can change that, whatever is best. And I think it's important to know that, some people get really caught up with what's the best thing to do. Sometimes you're not going to know, right? Sometimes it's going to take time for you to be like, hey, let me see what this spirit kind of responds to. Let me see how I can talk with them and kind of get it going. That's really huge.
Yeah. And I think one thing too is just because a spirit needs time doesn't mean that it's your fault. I hear that a lot from new spirit keepers, people who just start spirit keeping, like they're eager and they're excited and they want their spirit to be comfortable so bad to the point where they almost overdo it. And they get very hyper vigilant and like, oh my gosh, they haven't talked to me yet. Does that mean that they hate me? Does that mean that they hate my house? Does that mean that, no, not necessarily. Some think of spirits just like living people, right? Like there are people that walk into a room and they will talk to anybody in there and they'll be happy about it. There are other people who, even in a familiar group of friends, they are very, very quiet and they do better in a one-on-one environment. And it may take them a really long time to get to know somebody. Spirits are the same way. That doesn't mean you're bad. That doesn't mean you're awful. That doesn't mean that your spirit hates you. It just means that that spirit hasn't really crossed over to the point of you're somebody I can trust. I think in this time thing, it's important to remember that most haunted dolls, I feel comfortable saying most haunted dolls have had one, if not many, negative experiences with the living. Many of them were dumped into thrift stores. Somebody picked them up, hated them. Some of them may have had their vessels messed with by somebody who didn't know they were haunted. Somebody may have been really afraid of them and said awful things to them, swore at them. Like they need to see that you are different than the previous experiences that they have likely had. If you are watching this, you are like the 1% of people that really cares about their haunted dolls. And unfortunately, that's just not the norm in society yet, right? And so we need to be conscious of the fact that they may have had negative experiences and they need to see that you're different. And so don't take it personally. And the more you take it personally and the more you worry, like they'll pick up on that worry and that stress and it'll probably make it take longer. So, if we haven't heard from somebody for a long time, like let's say it's been 6 months, I'll start dropping hints like, oh, like saying to Mitchell, like, oh, we haven't talked to so-and-so yet. I'd love to hear from them at some point. So they know like we haven't forgotten, but we're also not like, hey, come on the spirit box. We're going to talk to you. It's just like, hey, Mitch, we haven't talked to so-and-so. Wouldn't it be so great if we heard from them? And then sometimes they'll show up. But it's interesting. They're all so different. And I think Pelagie is a really good example. Pelagie did not talk to us for the first 6 months she was here. Her bio said that she was super chatty and super social and she just never showed up. And she really wouldn't even like do equipment. I mean, she wouldn't even do like the flashlight or anything. And then one day she shows up on the spirit box and this girl had clearly watched our every move. She knew everything about us down to like our food restrictions. Like Mitchell offered to make banana bread and she's like, well, you're allergic to that. You can't eat gluten, and she knew so much about us. So it's like some of them are cool with talking to a stranger. Some of them want to like study you and like see who you are before they take that leap. And that's okay. Give them that time and don't stress about it. Try not to, at least.
Yeah. Next topic we should talk about is communication styles and limitations. And this is huge. I mean, I think we have so many different spirits and so much of them like to communicate in different ways that I think it's important to try different options. I mean, we have a lot of spirits that do like to use a spirit box. We have a lot of spirits that, would prefer gear or flashlights.
We have some spirits who will only come on the spirit box to tell us to get the Ouija board.
Yeah, and that's okay too. But I think it's important that you trial and error a couple of these things. And there is a lot of really easy, accessible options, especially for like our kids, for example. Like they love the flashlights. They love the gear. They love our little touch activated toys. And I think that's a way that they really feel like they can be engaged, but also very much have very consistent communication with us that they really enjoy, that we really enjoy. I mean, they see us enjoying it. They get a huge kick out of it. So I think those different communication styles can be very impactful for different types of spirits.
And I think, communication styles go both ways, right? Like they have communication styles that work for them. We have communication styles that work for us. And sometimes, especially if you're a new collector, you don't know what you like yet because you haven't tried a ton. So, trying different communication styles out there that you see, different communication methods, whether that be the spirit box or the spirit chat or the Ouija board, or whatever it may be, trying out different things to see what resonates with you, where, your gifts lay, and also finding out what that spirit's preference is. Fortunately, if you get an already investigated haunted doll, typically in their bio it will actually say what their preferences are, what they can do, and it'll list off actually usually a couple of different things. So sometimes you'll have an idea when they're coming into the house. And I think it's important to kind of find that method that works for everybody. Like my preferred method is spirit box. I love to spirit box. That is my thing. I'll probably never talk to Zarya on a spirit box. She just won't do it. It's not for her. The girl likes her Ouija board and that's what she's going to do. And like, I need to bend a little bit and go, outside of my preference because that's what works for her. And, I'm willing to do that. And I think that that's important as well, is like, sometimes with a particular spirit, like your best way isn't going to be their best way. And you got to kind of adapt and be able to change course a little bit.
Yes, there has to be a mutual agreement, right? Yeah. There has to be somewhere in the middle that people can meet.
Yeah, I mean, and
that's
huge. Like it's just like being a good human, like we treat them the way we would treat somebody living. The communication style is different. Obviously, they can't, have a back and forth conversation with me like Mitchell can. But, they're there, they're intelligent, they're able to understand you, they are able to know what's going on. And so, we should treat them with the same dignity and respect that we would treat somebody who is living. And, if Mitchell tells me, Taylor, I really don't like it when you communicate with me in that way, I'm not going to say, okay, well, suck it up. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, hey, okay, like let's figure out something that works for both of us. Same thing with a spirit. The same way that you would navigate a relationship with a living human being, you do the same thing with a spirit.
And I think it's also important to know that sometimes that can happen quickly and sometimes it can take a really long time. Yeah. And I think also something that we've done, which I think has been really helpful for us, is we have notes, right? So if let's say we have a certain spirit that really responds well to the Ouija board, right? Or touch activated toys, whatever you want to pick. It's okay to write it down and give yourself some notes, right? Because I feel like sometimes like, oh, we got to remember so much stuff. No, just write it down. Give yourself an option. Try it. And it may change depending on the day, the time, the time of year. A lot of these spirits are very sensitive in regards to what's going on around them. So it may change the communication style that they like, and that's okay. You don't want to shoehorn it in because they're not going to love it very much. It's not going to be a great experience, and no one's really going to succeed in that way.
The other thing too is like always remember, like just because the first couple of communication sessions may be rocky with a spirit doesn't mean that they'll be rocky forever. We have had some really bad first sessions with a new spirit.
Yeah, you don't say.
Where they don't get or necessarily like us, and we are not getting them either. and they're like baiting us to say a certain thing, but we don't know them well enough to know what they're like expecting or wanting us to do or say or react. And then it's kind of this like weird standoff. I think Marie is a really good example of that.
Mm-hmm.
Marie was an actress, and Girly was investigated for like 10 years before she came here. And every question Mitchell would ask, I felt so bad for you. Every question Mitchell would ask, she's very like kind of stuffy uppity. She would say, "That's a get to know you question. I already answered get to know you questions," meaning like she had already been investigated.
Mm-hmm.
I already answered my get to know you questions. No more get to know you questions. And then Mitchell would like try to get creative, and she'd be like, "I need an interesting question." And we were like, "Oh my God, this is going to be hard." And then like the second or third time, like you had it down, and she was talking about like, movies she was in and things she liked to do. And it was totally fine. But that first one, like if we got caught in the mindset of this is how it's going to be forever, I would have been, we would have lost it.
Mm-hmm.
We were just going in circles with her. I mean, there was like nowhere we could go. Nothing we said was going to be good enough at that time. But like now we're chilling. Like
And
we're good.
it's a skill. It requires a lot of practice. You're not going to be super great at it right away. We were definitely not good at it right away, but we've had a ton of practice and now we have a better option.
And even if you are really good at it, every once in a while, a spirit is going to show up in your house
And kick your butt.
and make you feel like you're not good at it.
Yep.
And make you feel like you don't know shit.
Yep.
Even though you do, because they just have their own particular unique communication style that you haven't figured out yet. And it's going to challenge you. And that challenge is a good thing. Because in the future, when you run into when we run into somebody like Marie at a location where nothing is good enough, we know what to do now.
Sure do. And sometimes I still don't feel like I know what to do, but I'm going to keep trying.
Oh my God, you're so good at asking questions. It's not even fair.
All right. Next thing we're going to talk about is emotional intelligence and self-regulation. This is
Everything.
a biggie. Now, I think this applies to lots of different communication environments and examples. I think we talked about this a little bit in the past, but I would love to rehash it. It's very important to check yourself before you go into a communication session. If like I'm feeling very, very, if I had a really difficult day and I'm really stressed and all these things are happening and things are happening outside of here that are really impacting me, that may not be a super great day to do a really serious communication session, right? Because those spirits can kind of pick up on how you're feeling and they may say, "Listen, I know you're upset. I don't want to communicate with you right now." Or it may be,
it may upset them.
It may upset them. Or if let's say you're having a really insanely day and you're very hyper and excited and things like that, maybe that's not a great time to talk to certain spirits either. And that's okay. But it's important to recognize it before you go into the communication session or before you do any sort of gear or even go into their environment and their space. It's going to impact how they feel and it's going to impact how you feel. And likewise for them, if they're having a really bad day, they may not come on to want to do any sort of communication. And then you might say, "Oh no, they don't want to communicate with me today, yada, 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 all these things. I'm terrible at it." Sometimes maybe they're having a bad day. Sometimes maybe they were reminded of something that was difficult in their past or anything like that. And it's important to not judge them for that in the same way that you wouldn't want them to judge you if you had a really bad day and you needed to kind of be by yourself and have some space. That's perfectly fine. But being able to recognize how you feel going into it and sort of try and put that either aside or try and be able to self-regulate in a much healthier way, I think is incredibly important.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to remember is in the same way that you can pick up on their energy, they can pick up on your energy. So even if you think you can fake it until you make it and they won't catch on to it, they will. They absolutely will. So even if you're like faking, I'm in a really good spot, like they will know and they will be like, "What's wrong with you?" And we have found, especially our kids, like they sometimes will take us just like having a bad day as they did something wrong. And you never want to put a spirit into that position either. And so just being really, really aware of your own self-regulation going into sessions is extremely important. This isn't to say if you have a haunted doll, you have to be in a good mood all the time. That is not realistic. No human being is in a good mood all the time. You can't have these unnecessary, like, and unrealistic expectations of yourself. Like, they know they're going into a home with a human being. In most cases, they were a human being too. They understand you're going to have bad days and good days because that's what people do. But I think it's the choices you make on those days. Like, hey, maybe we'll just spirit box tomorrow. So being flexible with them is not the only thing. You need to be flexible and realistic with yourself too. And like sometimes put yourself first. Not every day is the best day to do a session, and that's okay. It's totally fine, and they'll understand it. And in our experience, they would rather you just not communicate with them that day than open up communication when you're in a bad spot and then set them off. A lot of these spirits have trauma. A lot of these spirits have piles of, family problems and things like that. So like if you're, fighting with your boyfriend one afternoon, picking up your spirit box an hour later to talk to somebody whose boyfriend killed them, probably not the best idea. Like really think about who you're working with. Because those things can and will set them off. And even if you're not able to see that they were triggered, that doesn't mean they weren't. So just being aware.
Yeah. And also aware of times that they like to communicate too. Like, let's say you have a spirit that really likes giving you advice, right? Maybe, in that scenario, if let's say you do have a fight with a significant other or a partner, maybe that would be a good time to talk to them.
Yeah, that's
right.
a good point.
Because they really like to help in those scenarios.
Guides.
And we have a lot of spirits that really want to help. I can't even tell you how many times we've gone on to a communication session and they've gone, well, what do you need from me today? Right. And I go, I'm not entirely sure.
And then they're like pissed you don't have
And then
anything
they're
to
like,
ask for.
yeah. And sometimes that's okay too. But that's once again recognizing how you feel going into it, recognizing something that they, may want to do or seek out. And then that may be something that really fulfills them.
Yeah. That's
awesome.
a good point.
Next thing we should go over is boundaries, structure, and routine. This is a you topic. This is not something that I am good at. Structure and routine. Thumbs down for Mitchell.
Yeah, except I suck at boundaries because I'm like, you can do whatever you want.
Well,
I'm not the one to ask about boundaries. I'm like, oh, you went through my underwear drawer again? Haha, I probably don't do that.
So,
I'm like, not.
How about I'll do boundaries.
Yeah, you do that.
You do structure
Let's
and
do
routine.
That. Okay, let's talk about boundaries. You're
Okay.
the boundary guy.
Boundaries are incredibly important.
I let them do anything.
I know.
That's why they act like this.
You like spoil them in that sense.
That's why they're badly behaved.
Boundaries. So boundaries are incredibly important. I think especially when you have a new spirit that is new to your home or new to your space. Setting expectations for them and expectations for you, I think, is a very, very healthy way to start a relationship. It gives them an understanding of things that are important to you and things that may cross a line. Because I think in that scenario, if let's say, you have a 17-year-old that's going through your underwear drawer, right? That may be something to say, hey, that's really going to upset me when you do that. Or, if I have friends over, I may interact, I may like having you around, but I kind of don't want you to like knock stuff off the shelves when people are here, because it may freak them out and I don't want to freak them out. That's okay. But those are important things to talk about. And if you don't know what those boundaries are, you try your best. And then as things come up, you can start to set those boundaries appropriately. If let's say you experience something that you weren't really prepared for and then it bothered you, it's important to have that communication with them because you're going to make mistakes. They're going to make mistakes. And it's important to be able to understand that everybody is actively trying to create a positive environment.
We've said this before, but we will say it again. An appropriate boundary is not, don't act like a haunted doll. I don't want paranormal activity.
Yes.
That is really important. So for example, specific boundaries like we have. Don't open the doors to the outside because we have animals. We don't want our animals running loose through the neighborhood. That would not be good. We have things about, no harm. We set that boundary. We've never had an issue with that, but we set it anyway, just as a precaution in case anybody gets a bright idea. But it's not really, it's not even something I'm concerned about. To be honest with you, like safety is the last thing I'm concerned about, but I say it as a precaution because you never know who's walking in the door. And the one time you didn't say it, you're gonna wish you did, right? Things about volume. Never thought I had to set that one. I set that one after something happened where I came home and I could hear our TV was on and it was blasted all the way up to the point you could hear the TV, like the movie that they had turned on, like from the street outside the house. I was like, the neighbors can't like hear your music. Also had a couple of things where I came home to the radio on to like very, very, very loud rap music, like blasting through the neighborhood. And you know, our neighbor's bedroom window is right there. So, you know, things like that, that again, I never thought I would run into, but we did run into, and then I set them later. It's okay. But no paranormal activity.
Yes.
Because it's not realistic. It's not possible.
Realistic boundaries. If you have a really rambunctious 6-year-old that, let's say in their bio, likes, you know, says that they really like to fall over, Connor, you know, if you say don't ever fall over, that's ridiculous. That's like saying if I, you know, really like, you know, walking outside, tell them, well, you're not allowed to go outside. Well, that's something I really enjoy to do. That's not a realistic boundary. So be familiar with it, set realistic boundaries.
Put them closer to the floor.
Put them closer to the floor, right? And then we give them a crash
like
pad.
We have to give a little bit too.
Yes, and we say, hey,
he
listen.
Just doesn't go on a shelf because he'll trash himself and everybody on there.
Exactly. And sometimes they self-regulate. Like we had Iris, for example. And Iris is a great example of a spirit that
Iris cares about her vessel. Connor does.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm getting to it. She self-regulated quite a bit. That's the first thing she told us when she came here. Is she says, I cannot be on a shelf. I need to be really close to the ground, somewhere I don't fall, because I will break my vessel, and I really like this vessel. We go, oh, okay, cool. Let's find something that works for you. We were at an antique store, and we found these little chairs. We were like, oh my God, this is perfect.
They're for plants.
Yeah, they're for plants. We brought them home, and we were like, Iris, what about this chair? She goes, oh my God, I love it. This is perfect.
It was such a good find.
Right? It was such a good find. And that was something where she set a boundary for herself and told us about it. And that's, you know, very, very, very mature of her, but also something you need to be aware of as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next on the list, interpreting silence and change. This is a big one. This is a big one. Silence does not mean that they hate you, especially if it's like a change in it. Sometimes they may communicate with you about what's going on. Sometimes they may not. Respect what's happening.
Yes.
Respect their, you know, what's going on. It may be, let's say in their culture, it's a really significant time for them. You know, I know for a lot of us, or a lot of spirits here, seasons changing is a really big time, you know, from winter to spring or spring to summer. And those are times where maybe they're either really excited to talk to us, or maybe they go, hey, I'm kind of doing my own thing. I think a great example is Evney.
Yeah. When she came on the spirit box in June, she's like, hey, just so you know, like Evney loves winter. That's her thing.
She's a winter girly.
That's her thing. She came on a spirit box in like June. She goes, hey, you're not going to see me for a couple months. Don't worry about me. I'll miss you. Talk to you in the winter. And she just peaced out.
And we were like, oh, okay, cool. Like, and she does not like the summer, right? And same thing with Neoxa.
Hates the winter.
Opposite. She hates the winter.
Yeah.
And she was like, you need to get me away from the window. I was like, okay. And she was like, I'm not going to talk to you for at least 6 months. I'm like, okay. Cool. Like, that's fine.
Other thing too, I think people really want these like deep emotional bonds and conversations with spirits. And it's important to remember that like some spirits you're just not going to get that with. And that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. Like just because they're quiet about like the bad things that happen to them, or they don't talk about it at all, doesn't mean that they like don't like you and you guys don't have a good relationship. We have some spirits who I the way I describe them is like they're very here and now spirits, like Sandy, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Like Sandy, you know, her family's house burned down. She'll say it like, oh yeah, you know, like I'm dead. Like she's so open about it, but like she doesn't want to talk about that. She doesn't want to rehash it. She honestly, like Sandy wants to talk about, you know, like 10-year-old girl stuff. Like farting and the prank she played and telling
Jokes.
jokes
Oh
and
my God.
like to Sandy, like that is bonding with you, talking about her history and her feelings and her emotions and her concerns. Like that's just not her.
Yeah.
Like she'll even say, like, I don't understand sad ghosts, and we're like, that's
I think a great example of this that we really learned this lesson was with Omi.
okay.
Now, Omi was a spirit that we got very, very early on.
Yeah.
And she was one specifically where we were like, okay, we really want to try and figure out like about her. We really want to try and get information about her. We asked about her past, and I think we got like,
she verbally bitch slapped me for that.
yeah, I think she was like, yep, I hated it. I love being here. I don't want to talk about it. I partied a lot and I hated where I was. Now I'm here. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
But then
That
you
was her
have
entire past. And that's
Anne
cool.
Marie, who comes on and is like, Mitchell, I am feeling very nervous about Secret Santa. I'm very nervous that they will not like the gift I sent, and I'm very concerned. And like she wants to talk to you about her feelings, and like she's very good at describing them, and like that's her way of having a relationship with you. And like just because they're quiet about like their history doesn't mean that there's anything wrong. Like some of them are just very like in the now. They're very in the present, and some of them are very in the past. Like there are those spirits that are very in the past where, Barb, she still wants to talk shit about her husband 50 years later, and she's not over it. And she's going to, every time you talk to her, she's going to say how much of an asshole he was. And like that's cool.
That's cool.
But then other ones, it's like we talk about, that, and they're like, don't talk to me about that. I don't want to think about it. Like they're just in very different places, and that silence about topics does not mean that anything is wrong necessarily.
Exactly. Next topic we can talk about is the ethical responsibility of the living. There is a lot of responsibility that comes with being able to communicate. That is tough. And there's so much to this. I don't even know where to start. It's really important to recognize the responsibility that you have.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think it's very similar. We've talked about this in the past. It's very similar to like adopting an animal, where it's like it is your job to socialize them. It is your job to give them opportunities. They're not able to, oh gosh, this is so silly. They're not able to go on Amazon and order something as much as they've tried and would love to, but let's say you have a kid and you don't provide them with any sort of stimulation. They start acting out, right? It's your responsibility to be able to give them those things, to be able to initiate that conversation or communication, or to give them the tools and give them the toys and give them those things. That's your job. And if that's something that you don't think you can handle, or that's something that you don't think you're able to live up to, then I would really consider if this would be a good thing for you to go into.
The other thing about ethics, and I'm just going to like come out and say it, like stop creating stories for these spirits that aren't their spirits because you don't have the information from the spirit themselves. I see this so much where people get one word on a spirit chat and they turn it into an entire backstory about, oh, they said this because this, and this entire theory, and they create the spirit's story. Their story is the only thing they have left. They don't have a body anymore. They don't get to see their family every day, or their friends, or their house. Their story is the only piece of them they have left, and you have a huge ethical responsibility in telling that story and telling that story accurately. So, if you don't have it, like I personally would much rather say, I don't know that spirit's interests. I don't know that spirit's history, than say, they were so-and-so and they lived in this place at this time and they did this for a living and their family did this and their parents' professions were this, and going on and on and on and on and on, when it's not true. I think people do that actually for good intentions. I think the people that do that are the people that want to know their spirit really bad on a deep level. And so they take any tiny word they get on the Ouija board or the spirit box or the spirit chat, and they make it into a big thing. But case building in that way takes that spirit story away from them. And that is not fair to them at all. It is better to say, I don't know yet, than to have this big thing right away. I see it so often, and a lot of times when I see it, I can tell the person doesn't recognize that they're doing that. And so it's very, very important as an ethical spirit keeper to be checking yourself. You're not just looking out for them. You also have to check yourself, check your biases, check how you're interpreting things, and really, really do your darndest to watch out for your own imagination going wild, because it can. When, it can. When you don't have all of the information, you start to get little blips of information. It's very easy to fill in the gaps with your mind to make it make sense. Write down the individual words they said, and 2 years from now, you may have enough pieces to put together a story. You don't need it right now. It's okay to take the time to get the pieces, to get the right story, than to get it all at one time. I know that's like a little soapboxy, but a spirit story is seriously all they have left. So please take that responsibility of their story very, very seriously, because it's important. And when you do those things, you also show the spirit that their story doesn't matter to you. So yeah, that's a huge thing with building a bond with them, and not only building that bond and that trust, but keeping it. So yeah.
Yeah. I think this may also be a good time to, if you have, let's say, a friend who's doing this, to also ask a friend for help and say, "Hey, listen, I've spent so much time with this. I'm having a hard time putting these pieces together. Can you just look at, or can I talk this through with you? Can I give you these pieces and see what you get?" Because someone coming at it from a fresh perspective may completely change it, right? Because if you have all these things written down, let's say you have a piece of paper and you have all the things that they've said, and you kind of have one interpretation of it, getting help from someone or talking to someone else may say, "Hey, this is how I interpret it." And you go, "Oh, that can make sense." So don't be afraid to ask for help as well.
Yeah.
It takes
And
time.
it's also easy to like fact check yourself too. Like sometimes you get so much information, and when you're looking at it all together, sometimes there are glaring things that don't make sense. Okay, if a spirit told you that they owned their doll when they were alive in, the 1900s and then in the 1910s, and you source their vessel and their vessel is from 1990, okay, well, where'd you get that from? Right? Like, they clearly didn't own their vessel when they were alive in 1910 if their vessel was made in 1995, right? So, is that there was a communication breakdown with the spirit? Was that, I influenced that session in some way? Like check your own records, because you can see those inconsistencies, and think about where those inconsistencies may have come from.
Yeah. Next topic we're going to go over is growth over control. And I think not controlling a relationship or not controlling a bond you have with the spirit is something that I feel like we've talked a lot about today. But growth is another really big one. I think there is so much growth potential, especially for us as spirit keepers. And I think that is uber, uber important to pay attention to. I think growth from the spirits is possible.
Yeah.
I think it is, I don't know if tougher is the right word, but we have some that probably won't, and we have some that will. And that's okay. Don't expect them to change so much. Adapt what
Yeah,
you're
don't
doing.
expect a miracle.
Don't expect a miracle. But
But sometimes you get one.
You may get like a kid that really changes over time. We have lots of examples of that.
Jer, my
Yeah,
gosh.
Jer's
Jer
a big
used
one.
to throw fits. Like, it was scary. We had
Yeah.
some scary activity from Jer. Now he's just like such a sweet guy.
No,
He
he's a
just wants
sweet
to watch
one,
football
right?
with you.
And it's also like we've had a lot of trial and errors with him. We've set a lot of boundaries with him. We've opened things up. We've closed things off. We've had so many experiences with him to where he feels much more comfortable being vulnerable with us. We feel much more comfortable being vulnerable with him. So I think that took an enormous amount of time and patience and commitment to get to that point.
Yeah. Yeah. But then, and there are spirits like Alice, who's like this much better from when she got here over a year ago. And
I
that's
think,
also okay.
I think she's a little better than that. I think she's come a long way.
We're fingerprinting guests a year in, Mitch.
Nah, it's okay.
Mitch has a different view on that one.
Last one may be the most challenging. And this is in regards to letting relationships evolve or letting relationships end.
Yes. We've done
Oh
that.
boy, we have done that. It's very important to remember that although you have responsibility as a spirit keeper, and that's incredibly important, the spirit may want to go somewhere else. It's not your fault. You know, they may be more well suited somewhere else. They may have been, we're firm believers, or at least I'm a firm believer, that there are no coincidences at this point in time.
They may
So
cross your path for, a reason.
It may have been a reason.
Season ends.
Yeah, and that's okay. Like, I feel like we've had a lot of spirits who've enjoyed going somewhere else, or ended up with us from other people.
Yeah.
And we've had spirits that have been here that needed to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that's no
and it
harm
doesn't
on
mean
you.
You're a bad spirit keeper just
No.
because you weren't a fit for somebody. And I think it's really important, to some degree, their afterlife is in your hands. And I think it's so important that we are able to have the humility to say, like, hey, I'm not it for you. And that's okay. Right. Like we had Claire who was here, and Claire herself and also several of our other spirits were like, Claire's not a good fit. 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 And I know part of why she wasn't a good fit is I didn't pick her out. Somebody picked her out for me. And sent her here, which was a very kind gesture. But she was like, you're loud, your house is loud. Like, she was a total introvert, and I am totally not an introvert, right? Like, we host parties and we have people over all the time, and I'm standing on the bed singing, like, it's like, we're nuts. I'm nuts, you're not. But that was like, to her, like, her worst nightmare. Like, she was like, no. And so she wanted to go to a home, like a really quiet home. She ended up going to my mom's. My mom is her spirit keeper, and she's so happy there. And we have seen more of her personality since my mom has had her for like over a year now, where like my mom has taken her places, and the whole time she's like, I want to go home, I want to leave. Like, on the spirit chat, she's like, I want to leave. Like, she just wants to like sit in her house and like chill and have it be chill, and like, that's okay. And like, we had to say, like, hey, we really like you, but we recognize that we're not it for you, and like, you can go, and we can still care about you. And like, we still see her and talk to her, but we just weren't it for her. And that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with us. That doesn't mean we're like the shittiest spirit keepers because the spirit didn't want to live here. It just meant it wasn't a match. In the same way that like sometimes you have you have a friendship for a year or 2 years, and it's kind of like, hey, we've grown apart. And some relationships you grow together, and some relationships you grow apart, and it's okay to say goodbye. And it may be hard for you, but it's something that you need to be able to do, because again, it's that spirit's afterlife, not yours. So it sucks to do, but you just have to do it sometimes.
Absolutely. Okay, we are on to some viewer submitted questions.
Yeah. They're great.
They are great questions. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 viewer submitted questions today. First one is from Shadow. Shout out, Shadow.
Shadow just got their first haunted doll.
Yes, they did.
And I'm so excited.
And their question is, what's the best way you started a bond with non-human spirits? This is a great question. Do you want to start this, or do you want me to?
You can go.
Okay.
I'll tack on to it.
Okay. So I think it's very important. Oh boy. It's very important to know that they are going to communicate fundamentally different than you. Find a middle ground where you can communicate with them, they can communicate with you. But the way, at least in our experience, right? The way that they live in perceive the world and look at things is fundamentally going to be different. I think a great example is some of the Fae that we have. They are very blunt, very direct,
Yeah, they
and
are.
they don't understand
Human emotion.
because
they don't have them.
and they don't have them.
They have,
So
they have feelings, but they're not human feelings. They're very different.
Exactly. So if they say something
Not
and
all
it's
of
a
them have
little hurtful, you have to understand that that probably wasn't their intention. I guess it could have been technically, but
Oftentimes
you
it's
have
not their
to
intention.
check yourself, and you have to try and start there. Now, I think that a lot of the things that we've said can apply to those spirits.
Mhm.
You can still, interact with them. You can still, let's say, you are going on a hike and there's a tiny little vessel that you can, put in your backpacks and go on a hike with you. Like, that's a really cool option. But are they going to want to watch an action movie with you? Maybe not. Right. But
They're gonna rip you to shreds for liking the Wicked movie. Maybe.
yeah, you never know.
Been there, done that. I think for me, the thing to remember with non-human spirits is, again, their moral compass is a lot different than ours. And understanding what their moral compass is and being okay with that rather than applying your own moral compass is very important. There's a lot of moral gray involved with non-human spirits. They're a lot more exchange oriented. So rather than like, oh my gosh, I love you so much. Oh my God, I love you too. It's a lot like, hey, I gave you a quarter and then you did me a favor. Like it's way more exchange oriented.
Yes.
And recognizing that and bonding with them in that way is very important because to them that is how they recognize things. So, bonding with CL, for example, if I told CL that I loved him, he would probably throw me on the lawn. Like, that is just not going to work for him. But hey, CL, I really care about you. Here's a crystal shaped like a fish. And he's like, oh, and then it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to do you this favor. And, that is how CL works. It's very exchange based. I pat you on the back, you pat me on the back. It makes sense to him. Is that the way I build relationships with people? No. But to CL, that's what means something to him. And so, you kind of have to be able to work around that. And also, like, you have to have thicker skin to work with non-human spirits because they will say stuff to you that could really hurt your feelings. But in my experience, those things that they say that could really hurt my feelings are the things that have changed my life and made me a better person too. So, they may tell you your outfit is ugly and you screwed up everything this week and you did everything wrong, but 2 seconds later be like, but here's how you fix it. And you have to just be okay with it. And you have to put your feelings aside a little bit. That's why I always tell people, like, if you're going to go the non-human or the Fae route, you need to be okay with taking a little bit more, a little more hits. But again, there's the thing where like it will also change your life. These are not spirits that are necessarily going to want your comforting or want your advice at all. I've tried to give CL advice and he's just like, shut up, like that's okay, right? Like it's just a different kind of bond. And I think recognizing their style and what's important to them, we have a big thing in our house about like not asking spirits for favors. I don't like to ask our spirits for favors because that's not their purpose of being here. Their purpose of being here is because I care about them, right? So I'm not like, do this for me, do this for me, do this for me. Sometimes with a non-human spirit, like I have to put that belief of mine aside because they're like, no, I have to do something for you. You did something for me. I have to do something for you. And I have to like suck it up and ask for something. Even though like that's hard for me to do. I don't like to ask for help from people either. But like to them, like, it is a huge insult if I don't ask them for help. And so even sometimes it's like I'm almost like making up something I need. Just because to them, like, that exchange really matters. So I think those are the big ones. That's a hefty question, but a great question. Yeah, they're different.
Lots of trial and error.
Yeah.
Keep trying.
And they're all so different too. Everyone is going to be different.
Also different, but you're going to learn more about yourself than you would have ever imagined.
And a lot more offerings.
Potentially.
At least for ours.
Next question is from Raven. What difference between working what is the difference between working with child spirits, teen spirits, and adult spirits?
I think you're really good with kids. You should take this one.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think it's the same exact way that you would work with humans. I say humans. That's a terrible way. I'm going to start over. So next question is from Raven. Their question is, what is the differences between working with child spirits, teen spirits, and adult spirits? This is a fantastic question. I think working with child spirits, you have to get into that child mindset. I know, like, for
You're
example,
so good at this.
And I've had a lot of practice with this, right? But like, let's say you're working with like a nephew or a cousin or something like that.
Or your own kid.
Or your own kid, right? And let's say they're 6, right? And you want to ask them all these deep questions about all these things, and that's really cool. And they're like, but it's raining outside. I don't like to talk when it's raining. And you're like, oh, okay. Well, what do you want to do? Like, you have to kind of understand that they're kids. I know that's like a weird thing to say, but you have to understand that from their perspective, they want to have fun. They want to hang out. They want to play games. They're a great one where they're a great spirit where you're like, let's say you're, watching a awesome TV show. Like, they maybe want to watch that with you if it's something that's appropriate for them or not, I guess, in the case of us.
Oh,
but it's a really fun way to interact with kids. You have to try and go into that mindset. Yes, I think working with teens is also very similar. They're a little bit more mature, not all the time. Sometimes they have their moments, but they're going to be more edgy. They're going to be more honest with you. They're going to create more problems. They're going to tell you that they hate your outfit.
And you don't look good in yellow.
And that's fine. But you have to understand that. And then once again, working with adults, the maturity level is going to be there for the most part, right? 99% of the time. So
you hope. Phineas.
Don't talk to them like they're kids. Like, don't talk down to them. Like, if you met someone who was an adult and you talk to them and you were like, well, tell me about your favorite color, that would, like, the adult would be like, stop talking to me. This is ridiculous. Let's have a more serious conversation. If that's something they want to do. Or you may have some adults that want to talk about that stuff, and that's cool. But you have to treat it the same exact way as if you were working with a family member or your own kids or anything like that. Try and go into that mindset and try and see what kind of communication you can get.
Yeah. And I think some people shy away from working with kid spirits because their stories are horrible a lot of times. Like, their stories are really, really rough to hear. But I think for me, it's very important to remember, like, those are the spirits who need a damn good spirit keeper more than anybody. Like, they need somebody who really, really, really cares. Most of our kids don't really talk about their stories a ton. I would say Jared's the one who talks about his the most.
We have some that talk a lot about it. I think Nicole was a good example of one.
Well, she's a teenager.
She's a teenager.
Yeah, she's a teenager.
But she was one that, like, the first thing she talked about with us was her past.
Yeah.
But that was something that was, it was in her bio, but it was really, really, really important to her.
Yeah.
And that was something that we have to recognize. That's something that, if you're going to have a spirit like that, you have to understand that that's a conversation you're going to have.
Yeah.
And if you're not super comfortable in that, or you have a lot of, let's say,
your own
trauma with that, you have to be prepared for that. And that may not be a conversation that you're ready for. And if that's the case, communicate with the spirit about it, right? But this is, once again, going back to self-regulation and checking yourself.
I think with the kids too, for me, like, I try to stay away from the story as much as I can and really tap into that, you know, kid mindset with them. Like, what do kids like to talk about? What do kids like to do? Because I think that, like, allowing them to be a kid in their afterlife can be very, very healing. So, if they need or want to talk about their story, like, yeah, we're going to do it. But, like, I really try not to bring that up with kids, like, under any circumstances, because I try to get them more in the here and now rather than focusing on all the bad that happened to them, because they don't have the emotional capacity to process it yet, and it's just very, very hard. So finding things that they, like, really enjoy, and, like, giving them, ways to have fun, and, getting to watch the cartoons and play with the toys, and whatever it may be, um helping them kind of get back to being a kid, I think, is very rewarding for us. And we start to see them really shine after doing that for a while. So I think that's been really cool.
For sure. Next question is from Caitlin with a K.
Caitlin with a K. We have a Caitlin with a C and a Caitlin with a K.
We do.
We always distinguish
We
now.
have to. So their question is, what are some easy and fun ways to get to know your spirits without overwhelming them? This is a great question.
I love this question.
I think showing them things you enjoy, like TV shows or movies, saying hi to them in the morning, saying good night to them, maybe including them in really simple things. Like, for example, if let's say we have a spirit that really likes being in the kitchen, like Cheryl loves breakfast, right? That's her thing. She likes being in the kitchen. She likes cooking. She likes doing all these things. So if I'm going to cook for a really long period of time, I may just bring her down and set her in the kitchen with me. I may talk to her a little bit. I may not. And that's something that I can interact with her a little bit, but she can kind of just be in that space with me.
I think something that Lucky has done with their questions for Spirit of the Week interviews, I think it's a really, really good way to get to know your spirits without overwhelming them. So rather than like an interview style, like, because you do want to get to know them, you want to ask them questions about who they are, right? Like, rather than like an interview style, like, tell me this, tell me this, tell me this. What do you think of this? What do you like to do? What do you like to play? But like, Lucky has been submitting questions that are like, for example, like, what is your favorite hobby? My favorite hobby is blank. So that it's a reciprocal conversation rather than just one-sided. I think that's very powerful, because then it's not so high stakes, like drill. So the more you can emulate a conversation like you would have with a living person, the better.
I think this is also a great time to remind people that anytime you're having a communication session, it's always very valuable to ask if they have any questions for you.
Yeah. Sometimes they do.
Sometimes they do. And sometimes they're awesome questions. Sometimes they're silly. Sometimes it's like, why do you wear shirts that are too small, or weird things about you? And that's cool. But sometimes that's how kids want to interact.
Yeah.
Our last viewer submitted question is once again, from Shadow. What are different ways of communicating between the different kinds of haunted dolls, like human, non-human, and spirits who do not reveal their identity?
We've talked about this a lot this episode, so we may have already answered this, but I would say my biggest advice for dealing with different kinds of spirits is following their lead. Follow their lead. You will know how you're supposed to act based on how they interact with you. It's not all on your side. Like, sometimes, like, they'll come on and they will be very serious and not want to share any personal information, and then you're kind of like, okay, well, I'm not going to ask about personal information. Or sometimes they'll come on and they, like Nicole has like a lot of questions for us about who we are and what we're interested in, and then it's like, okay, well, you have a lot of questions about us, so it's probably cool to ask you about you. Or you're dealing with a fae and you try one time to ask them about something and they're like, that's too dangerous, I cannot tell you. And then you're like, okay, well, I'm not going to ask about something like that again. Sometimes it's just trial and error because every spirit is so different. And like, if you try something and it tanks, just don't do it again. Like, you're never going to have the perfect interaction. But following their lead, because how they behave will tell you a lot about how you should interact with them.
Yeah. I think this may also be a valuable time to recommend that sometimes, letting them know the questions before you ask them can be really valuable. Let's say we're having a communication session with one of our kids, and let's say they say, "Oh, I love talking about animals." You go, "Okay, you know what? Next time we're going to talk all about animals." And they're going to go, "Okay." And that can kind of put them in that mindset. It may prepare them. Or if you want to ask more serious questions, say, "Hey, are you okay if next time we talk, I ask you some more questions about your past?" And they may go, "Oh, you know what? I'll think about it." Or, "You know what? Okay, that's okay. Let's do it in a couple of days." Cool. That can be an option.
That's why it's very important to write down their responses, because you can use them for future conversations.
Yes.
Like, "Oh, okay, the first time I talked to so-and-so, we talked about animals and it went really well. And the second time I talked to so-and-so, the communication session completely tanked and it just didn't go really well. Okay, well, I'm going to revisit the animal topic because that clearly went really well this first time we talked. So I know if I bring this back, we're going to have success." So like writing down those exchanges that you have will help you a lot. Like use previous communication sessions to help you in future ones. If you don't want to write them down, videotape them all, so you can go back and look. And those patterns will help you out a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that about sums up our
That's a long one.
questions. That's a lot of information.
But I hope this is a good resource.
Take some little gems from that and then do with it what you please. But we are going to move on to our commercial break. When we come back, we will have our very excited Spirit of the Week.
Who's been campaigning to be Spirit of the Week for a while.
For forever, but some of their answers are amazing, so you do not want to miss it.
She's a funny one, that's for dang sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we will see you in a second after our commercial break.
I was built to last from the whims I'm weaving. I could change the past with all I'm achieving. Got my foot on the gas, never stop competing. If you break my glass, then this life's gonna end.
I wanna be the best in the game, invest in my name. Check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain. I ingest, I retain, assess and I change. Possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints. Money, clout and fame, mud, disease, a plague. We all love to hate, have to play the game, have to make a name. All our insecurities are on This display. is war with the enemy, think that it was meant to be. Living in a time where disease is on every screen. I won't let them fester me, I know most are festering. Negativity is a plague for the mentally weak. No mercy, all I got is working. Never stop searching, never quite so thirsty. I'm toxic and psychotic, but there's logic, you can't stop it. It's been chronic since I was a boy, so neurotic and chaotic.
Built to last with the webs I'm weaving. I could change the past with all I'm achieving. Got my foot on gas, never stop competing. If you break like glass, then this life's gonna eat 'em. Make mistakes real fast, then you learn how to beat 'em. If you take off the cast, you can see all the healing. If the pain's in the past, move on from the grave and put your foot on the gas.
Hello and welcome back from our commercial break with our Spirit of the Week.
It's
It
DJ
is
Astrid.
DJ Astrid.
Yeah.
One of, she's something else.
Yeah, we call her DJ Astrid. She likes to be called DJ Astrid because our friends gave her this DJ booth, and we learned that she loves to DJ for guests. She plays with this like little toy and makes it make noise.
It's actually
pretty
super
hilarious.
awesome.
It's hilarious. DJ Astrid loves a remix,
She sure
especially
does.
at wine night.
Oh yeah. So tell us a little bit about how Astrid got here, Taylor.
Astrid, I just saw her and I fell in love with her. She is so quirky. Astrid was one. She actually her backstory is quite sad. I will drop her link to her story in the description, but she has a pretty tragic backstory. She was a pageant girl. She did a lot of dance competitions, things like that. And I also did dance competitions when I was in high school and things like that. So I related to her a lot in that regard. And Astrid's a little sassy, and I love a sassy spirit. She's a thief. I would say she is our most well achieved thief in our house.
Mm-hmm.
Her stealing is quite impressive. I get a kick out of it. I think it's so funny and honestly so impressive. Christy was our first thief, but Christy makes things disappear and can't bring them back. Astrid is so funny because she will take stuff, and then if I say give it back, she's not gonna give it back. But if I like complain about it in the wind, it will just show back up and be like, oh man, I really wish I had that. Oh, I miss this thing so much. It'll just like show up in the middle of the floor, and you're like, okay. She has stolen jewelry. She has stolen a frozen pizza.
Yep.
She has stolen just like the craziest things. And they end up in the funniest places. Like my necklace that I was missing for weeks. I was like so sad. It's like my favorite necklace. I found so the necklace was in my jewelry dish, which is where all my jewelry goes. And she popped the stone, like the big stone, out of the necklace. And I found it weeks later, like hidden inside of a slipper that I never wear. Just her activity is very, very impressive.
For the record, we never got that frozen pizza back.
I don't want it back. It's moldy at this point.
I mean, who knows where it is?
I don't want that. I don't want that.
It could have been anywhere.
No, she can keep that one.
Keep it.
You know, the jewelry will take back. The pizza,
maybe not.
Keep it. It's been too long now.
Too long.
But yeah, I get a kick out of Astrid. I adore her.
Yeah, she's very fun. A very fun personality.
She loves the spotlight. She loves to be on video. Her bio actually said she wanted to live in a home with a YouTuber because she wanted to be on camera so bad. And that was another thing that I thought was really interesting about her. But she just loves to be the center of attention, and we adore her. I feel like she's a spirit who we've been able to connect with a lot. She really enjoys being here. She really enjoys talking to us. She really enjoys talking to our friends, working with other people that come over here. She's always happy to sit in her little pink chair and show off her skills for everybody. And we just love her. So
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into some of her questions, or actually some of her answers. So a reminder of how this works. Every single week when we have our Spirit of the Week, we do a Spirit Box session with them. I ask these questions verbatim, and I write down these answers exactly what they say. I do not paraphrase it. I do not change it. I try and be as direct and match exactly what they said as I possibly can. So when we started, I said, Astrid, are you ready to be Spirit of the Week? Are you excited? She said, you're correct. Yes. So great. Solid start. So first question was from Spider. They ask Astrid, what is your favorite thing in the house? And Astrid answered, friends and pink Scrabble tiles.
Oh yeah, her pink Scrabble tiles.
Scrabble tiles. She loves the pink Scrabble tiles.
I find them all over the house, and I never know how they get out of her box and end up in the house. Yeah, I found that box dumped a couple times. That's always fun to clean up.
Oh yeah,
there's like 1,000 of them. Hot pink.
Requested, by the way.
And they are not to be shared.
No.
Under any circumstances. My tiles. Yes. That's what she says. My tiles.
Next question is from Spider. They ask, what is your favorite kind of music? And Astrid said, exactly what you think. Pop music.
Is that what you thought?
I guess so. Respect the answer. I mean, hey. I feel like it matches her, though.
It fits. Yeah,
sure. Next question is from Spider. What are your favorite and least favorite foods? And Astrid said, favorite is pizza. Least is mushroom. They're not good. I then asked a follow-up question. I said, what about mushroom on pizza? She said, no, don't ask that. Can't do it. I was like, okay. Jeez, I was just asking.
No mushrooms.
Not a mushroom girly.
No.
But a pizza girly? For sure.
We did not know that until my frozen pizza went missing. And for me, that was a catastrophe because that was all I wanted to eat all day. And it was RIP.
Tough.
It was sad.
It's tough out. Next question is from Witchy Emma. Out of all the things you like to take for attention, what was your favorite to take? And what item did you take that made Taylor smile and say that we have to pay attention to Astrid? And Astrid said, it was the necklace. She was upset. I give it back with searching. Funny.
Yeah,
there you go.
That one, I was pretty upset about that.
Yes.
That was also her first, I think that was her first time she stole here. And so it was like an even bigger deal. And I really did make a big deal about that. And I was talking about it on lives. And so everybody was asking about it. So she not only got our attention from taking it, and of course, it was something you gave me. So he's asking for it. I'm asking for it. People online are like, have you found the necklace yet? And it was like this huge
It was a whole
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a whole thing.
Yes.
It was impressive.
It was pretty wild. Next question is from Caitlin. Can't with the C. The next questions are all from Caitlin with a C. A couple of them. Hi, Astrid. Hope you're doing well, lovely. I was wondering, given your outfit, would you consider yourself a girly girl? If so, what specifically about yourself would you consider to be the most girlish? And Astrid said, yes, I did dance class. I then asked a follow-up question because we sometimes do little TikTok dances. I say, do you like when we do dances? And Astrid said, yes, it's funny. I then asked, who's the better dancer? She said, Taylor is. Sorry. Both are good, but she's better. She was like, you asked. She said, but Dove is better than both. I said, oh, is Dove a really good dancer? She said, yep. Keep practicing. Be good as Dove. So there you go. Shout out Dove.
That was a really good example of like, don't ask if you don't want to know. Mitchell was so insulted.
I wasn't that insulted. I thought it was hysterical. I was like, at least you said I'm okay. Like, I'll take that.
Could have been worse.
Oh, it could have been
Could have been worse.
Next question is from Caitlin. Have you ever been to a concert? If not, and you had the chance to go to one, who would you see?
Oh, this was
This
so
was so
funny. I
good.
was so confused in these headphones on this.
Astrid said, no, I have not. Maybe I'd see Aaron Carter. And I started laughing because I was like, oh my God, that's an amazing answer. And she said, stop laugh. I said, did you like Aaron Carter? She said, yes. Aaron's Party, Want Candy, which are Aaron Carter songs. She then said, Gwen Stefani, yeah, something like that. At this point in time, Taylor's on the spirit box and goes, I think I'm hearing Hollaback Girl by Gwen Stefani. And I was like, Astrid.
Multiple times.
I was like, Astrid, are you playing Hollaback Girl for Taylor? She said, Hollaback Girl for Taylor. I'm smart. And I said,
It was like 5 or 6 times.
yeah. And I said, oh, I like Gwen Stefani. She said, you're old for Gwen Stefani. And then I said, okay, well, what band is Gwen Stefani in? And she said, shut up. I was like, okay. So big Aaron Carter fan, mad respect, big Gwen Stefani fan.
Okay.
2 good options. For
Yeah.
Astrid. Next question is from Caitlin. Do you like to use your DJ booth to perform for the other spirits or only Taylor, Mitch, and their friends? And Astrid said, for everyone, audience. I then said, what's your DJ name? I was like, is it DJ Astrid? Is it something else? She said, that one, DJ Astrid. So now we know her official DJ name is DJ Astrid.
Yeah.
Which is honestly pretty solid name.
Yes.
Pretty solid name. Next question is from Caitlin. What was your favorite thing to do during your life? And Astrid said, performance on stage. I said, what was your favorite thing to do? She said, model. There you go.
All right.
She is a performer for sure.
Yes, she is.
For
Yes.
sure.
One of her party tricks is she likes to ask about people's credit cards. Because she said
yes.
her mom, she asked us about our credit cards like the first day she got here. And she said her mom said it's very important to have a good credit card. She was very spoiled.
Very important.
And so she's asking us about our credit cards. And so now when friends come over, they'll show her their credit cards.
And she'll judge them.
And she'll use the equipment to tell them if she thinks it's a good credit card or not. It's so funny. The second somebody takes a credit card out of their wallet, Astrid's like setting off every piece of equipment we have.
She loves the credit card.
She loves a credit card.
Can't blame her.
Yes.
Can't blame her. Next question is from Caitlin. Do you ever go outside the house with Taylor or Mitch to oversee their jobs? And Astrid said, never. Work is boring. I was like, okay.
That's fair.
I said, do you like to spend time outside? She said, yes, play games. I said, do you want us to get you in a game? She said, yes, jump rope. I was like, okay,
All right.
we will get her a jump rope.
It's a good idea. I like that.
Great idea.
Yeah, I like
Great
that.
idea.
I never would have thought of that.
I know. Next question is from Caitlin. If you could give any advice to haunted dolls for their spirit keeper, so advice for the haunted dolls in regards to us, what would that be? And Astrid said, Don't take pizza or they'll get mad. I learned that.
I was pissed.
I was like, okay, fair enough. These next questions. So I like to sometimes pull some questions from previous Spirit of the Weeks too, because I think that they're fun. So first thing I said was I asked the question, and then she said, who asked? Because I forgot to say who it was from. So this question is from Kim. They asked, if you wanted to go out for some candy, who would you take with you and what would you get? And Astrid said, I'd bring Dove. Like 30, Swedish fish. I was like, okay, I love Swedish fish.
Dove is very popular here.
Well, I think
Got a lot of
their
friends.
personalities very much
similar.
match. They're
Yeah,
very similar.
Yeah, Dove and Astrid and Jenny are a lot alike.
Next question is from Kim. What's something you can do that most other spirits can't? And Astrid said, don't lose stuff that I take. I said, oh, are you good at being organized? She said, yep.
That's true.
So who knows? That's a good skill Astrid has.
That's
She's
true.
very organized.
Her old spirit keeper said, like, because when she started stealing from me all the time, I reached out to her old spirit keeper. I was like, where do I look for my shit? You know, I'm like, I need to get my stuff back. Where should I look? And she's like, oh, Taylor, you'll never find it. She'll give it back when she wants to give it back. But like, she's like, I have found my stuff in like old boxes in my basement that I haven't opened in 10 years from when I moved. I have found stuff like just in the craziest spots that you will never even look. She's like, you may as well just wait for it to come back. And I was like, okay. She's like, it just disappears into the abyss for a while.
But she doesn't lose it.
I'm glad.
She knows exactly where it is.
Yeah, we do. If I always, when something gets stolen, we have a couple thieves. Like, I love thieves. But when something gets stolen, I always hope that it's Astrid who stole it now, because that means I'll get it back.
There you go.
It may be a couple weeks, but I will get it back.
Yes, there we go. Next question is from Jenny. Are there any spirits in the house that you didn't think you'd be friends with, but you are? And Astrid said, well, no. I am very confident in who I like. I said, okay.
Listen, I respect a girl who knows what she wants.
Exactly. I said, do you have any ideas for videos? And she said, DJ. And that's the end. I did ask her if she had any other advice, and she said, no. She's like, is there anything else? She was like, nope. I was like, okay.
All right.
Sounds good. So that has been Astrid.
Yeah, she's so awesome. I adore Astrid. She does really well with Jer too.
Yes,
which I've always loved.
She actually is like very good with the other kid spirits.
Yeah.
I think she's kind of like, I feel like she's the kid that's kind of the leader of the kids and just kind of takes them all in a group. It's like, all right, everyone, we're playing this game.
She's
We're going to do this.
She's bossy.
But sometimes it's like really good for some kids that they're just like, well, you know, if I don't know where to go, Astrid will tell me where to go.
Yeah.
And that's great.
And we have a lot of like passive ones too. So I think that is good to have a little bit of a balance. But she's just been awesome. She's just one of those spirits who's like always there, always down, always up for doing something.
Very engaged.
Will always participate in a group. You know, like whenever somebody comes over and it's like they've never had a paranormal experience, they want a paranormal experience, they want to try a spirit box session, they want to try to learn how to investigate. Like Astrid's one of my first picks to like work with a newbie, because she'll do it and she'll be happy to do it.
Yeah, she'll be thrilled.
She may roast you in the process, but
I think that's part of the fun.
She'll do it. And you know, she's just so great.
Yeah.
She does not love when we leave. That's one thing about her. Like, she's gotten very attached to us. She doesn't like when we go on trips and leave and things like that. So we have some friends who are always happy to take Astrid home with them when we're gone, and give her a good time, because she likes to be doing something all the time. Like, she's a busybody. She doesn't like to sit.
Yes.
And she will always find something to do. And when you think she's sitting, she's not sitting, she's scheming. So
yes, exactly. Well, hope you learned something about this episode. We went into a lot of detail about some stuff, but I think stuff that is tremendously important.
Yeah.
And hope it helps you a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, this is the stuff that's like allowed us to have the relationships that we do with our spirits, and, you know, the bonds and the trust. And I think that is super key for spirit keepers. So I do hope it helped. I hope it's a good resource for you. I know it was a very content heavy episode, so I apologize for that, but things to revisit, things to think about. And we hope that you have good luck with building that bond that you're
Yes.
looking for with your spirit as well.
Keep trying. Don't give up.
Yeah, never give up.
Don't give up.
Never give up. A couple of things this week. I have been very busy with YouTube videos, so there's a lot of new videos out. Cheryl's story is finally out. I've been putting it off for like a year and a half
Yeah, seriously.
because it is just like a really sad story, and I just couldn't tell it. And I finally did it. Connor's story is also now out. I also have some new haunted history videos out about Project Stargate.
Yeah, check those out.
And about the dark history of exorcisms. Yes, it is way darker than you think it is. Check it out. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Sounds good.
So thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting us, and happy first podcast of 2026. Yeah.
Yeah, first podcast 2026.
Yes.
Crazy.
Starting off strong.
I know.
All right. Well, we will see you next time. If you would like to join us for a future live premiere, we do live premieres of these episodes every single Saturday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Yes, we do.
Catch you later. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.